you're going to click chat. And what you're going to do is you're going to answer me one question. Okay. And it's actually two-parter. I would love to know, for our folks in the room, what might be working for you or what might not be working for you with fundraising in mind. Okay. So throw it in the chat. We have about 24 people in the room right now watching us. Please make sure that you're participating. It keeps things moving for me. Okay. It keeps my energy moving because I am calling from California and it is very early here. Okay. So throw it in the chat. Would love to know one thing that might be working and one thing that might not be working for you for fundraising. And hello, Maria. Nice to have you here.
Maria's here.
Amazing. All right. People are still trickling in. So for folks that are just joining, I'm going to repeat my question. Would love to know one thing that is working for you and one thing that is not working for you with fundraising in mind, just so we have something to make a note of as we're going into our conversation today. So thank you so much for Patricia for answering and giving us some insights. So the first one, we have need more people working on the fundraising committee and better follow through on their commitments and promises. Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Waiting on a couple more. We have some people trickling in. Okay. So continue submitting your, responses into the chat. For our folks that are just joining because I'm still seeing the numbers increase. Welcome to the webinar. In the chat, you'll see a couple of people responding. I want to know what's one thing that's working for you and one thing that's not working for you with fundraising in mind. And Stephanie, I'll actually call yours out real quick before we get started on our webinar. So Stephanie says, we recently did a peer-to-peer regional one-day fundraiser and had a great success. What is not going well is small program-focused campaigns.
Interesting.
Oh, keep that in mind.
Yeah, I would say that sounds pretty close to, we're doing some virtual peer-to-peer regional kind of fundraising things, and we're also seeing some success with that too. So that's similar and good to hear.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Is everybody ready to get started? Eric and I are going to continue monitoring the chat throughout our session today, but we want to make sure that we're honoring your time. And because your time is so valuable, we're going to make sure that we're getting you out of here in that strict 30-minute mark. Okay. So that said, feel free to throw in questions at any point during our session today. We're going to spend some time a little bit after our session's over and then hang back to answer any questions you might have. Eric's awesome. We're actually going to go into that in a little bit. So hi, everybody. Let's formally get started. My name is Nina Yoon. I am going to be your webinar host today, and we are going to be talking about, as you see right here on the screen, the best performing digital fundraising strategy of 2025, and no one is talking about it. I am here with Eric Seeds, and he is coming to join us from Good United. And Eric, I'm going to switch over to our fun little About Us screen now with this beautiful photo of you. Do you mind telling us about what you do for Good United?
Sure. Hey, everybody on the call. I'm Eric Seeds, the Associate Director of Paid Social here at Good United. I've been with Good United for over 4 years now. What Associate Director of Paid Social means is really overseeing all social advertising that leads to like lead generation to get new supporters for nonprofits. It could be fundraising, donors, subscribers, but the big thing is challenges on Facebook. That's the big program that I oversee here at Good United.
Awesome. And Eric, you are a marketing advertising professional. So he uses a lot of different language, but paid social is basically social media advertising engagement and all that. But I do want the audience to know about your extensive experience. Okay. So if you don't mind telling them a little bit about that, I'd love to just cater like 30 seconds to that.
Sure. So I've been doing paid social since graduating college 11 some years ago. So I've been doing paid social for my entire professional career. But my background actually includes social media content strategy, SEO, paid search, and then that's kind of transitioned into things like TV, radio, even programmatic advertising. So a whole gambit of kind of digital marketing focuses there, but paid social has been by far my favorite area to really like hone in on.
I love paid social too. And it's wild that you've also done TV and then also SEO. And for folks in the room, that is search engine optimization. So that's like optimizing websites for keywords and all that. That those are two very different things. Okay, let's get started. As you may have seen, Eric is not new to helping organizations and companies make money. So we're going to spend a good chunk of time talking about that today. And I'm sure that y'all are really excited to get into it all. And as you can see, probably by Eric's background, that strategy that we're talking about today is actually Facebook challenges. Okay. And I want Eric to kick us off by telling us a little bit about what Facebook challenges are and how they work. Eric, take it away.
Yeah, a Facebook challenge is a virtual peer-to-peer event where we run advertisements on social media where we're getting people to sign up for an activity that they have to complete in usually a month. And while they're doing the activity, they're asked to fundraise for the cause. They're asked to join a group to meet other participants and supporters and share their progress. And then also, we ask them to join the nonprofit messengers, become a subscriber there so that our nonprofit partners can get to know them on a more one-to-one basis. So it's a great program. What makes it powerful is really the community aspect and also leaning into the viability of social media and yeah, how easy it is to share kind of content on that platform.
Facebook challenges are really great. I think Eric had given light into how I think they engage with your supporters. We have a great webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago with Maddie. So make sure that you're checking that out if you want to take a deeper dive into it. But I want us to set the stage a little bit about more so high level why Facebook challenges work, right? But we want to kind of zoom back, okay? And a few years ago, they were super popular. Okay. A lot of people probably maximize them in engaging with their donors. And over time, we also started seeing that they started losing steam. And I would love your insight into what happened.
Yeah. So during COVID and right after COVID, challenges on Facebook were kind of the belle of the ball. They allowed people to raise money for their favorite nonprofits in kind of a familiar fashion of a peer-to-peer event, while also like bringing community back into their lives. Which with social distancing, people people wanted that aspect, and so Facebook challenges solved kind of those two problems of supporting nonprofits and building community. Then shortly thereafter, two things kind of happened. Nonprofits saw that success, that wild success, and invested super heavily into challenges. And a lot of new players came into the space, and it was just a lot of challenges going on Facebook at the same time. And at the same time, in-person events actually started to come back into play, and the social distancing um, whatever it was it was lifted, right? So people were doing in-person events again. So it was a bit of a like growing supply of challenges and shrinking demand from participants that really hurt the performance back in like 2023 and 2024, I would say.
That is interesting. And I'd love for us actually to take a deeper dive only because I read a LinkedIn post that you created. Everyone go follow Eric on LinkedIn. Okay. And you had mentioned that it's not solely the return of live events that made it stall. And I think a part of that is obviously like donor behavior. But can you tell us a little bit more about what was happening that affected performance?
Yeah, so one of the interesting factors that we saw play a role was actually political factors. So in 2023, 2024, we started to see nonprofits, several of them, receiving a lot more support in different ways from the administration that was in place in 2023 and 2024. Um, yeah,
And that's a good thing.
yes. Um, but public perception kind of matters. So
Huh?
an example of something that we saw happen was one of our clients, they actually ran a challenge in, I think it was like beginning of 2023 or 2022, and it was all dandy, it was all good. But their next challenge, they started to see a pretty stark fall off in like fundraising and donations from their supporters. And so we really looked into it and tried to figure out like what was going on here. And one of the things we did is we looked at the news and we saw that the administration had actually helped out this organization and made insulin much more affordable, which is a direct tie to what this nonprofit was trying to accomplish, and that's great news. Um,
Mhm.
but there's this perception that happens where if the individual supporters of an organization out there feel like they've done the job or like a nonprofit is getting support from elsewhere, they kind of feel like maybe they don't need to do quite as much. And that tiny little factor, it can have a huge wave of impact as far as fundraising and donations and just success in social fundraising goes.
That is actually so interesting because I mean, I think when you name it, it makes so much sense. Because I majored in sociology in college, and all we did was learn about diffusion of responsibility, right? Like
Mm,
when I think what you were saying is that, oh, when someone's not there to take on something, it's like I have to be that person, right? And I think
yes,
that's what we're seeing here
exactly.
is that on a macro level, we're seeing that there's these events, these changes, even probably within your local governments, your state governments, federal governments, and these things really do, what I'm hearing is that they influence our donor psychology. Is that right?
100%. Yes.
Okay. And in your LinkedIn post, you also mentioned another thing, and that was market performance. Can you
Yes.
elaborate on that?
Yeah. So that's another major factor with success that we've seen with challenges and just with fundraising and donations on social media. And we've actually seen this for the past 4 years. It's pretty interesting. We actually took a screenshot of the S&P 500 graph, over time, along with like our campaign performance as far as fundraising and donations go. And it's super interesting to see because when the S&P 500 is like in a steady state or growing, things are all great with fundraising and donating. Everything's awesome. But as soon as you see a big dip, and if the dip lasts, a week to a month or more, it's really detrimental to fundraising performance on social media. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. When when times are tough, people are obviously tighter with their money, which impacts donations. But also on the front end of it, if you're asking somebody to start a fundraiser in this type of economic time where things are rough, they might not feel good about starting a fundraiser because they don't want to ask their friends for money at this time. So it's
Mm.
kind of a double whammy that really hurts social fundraising overall. Um, and we saw a bit of that this year in April when the tariffs were all being put in place. The market was not happy, and there was a lot of fear going on. And we saw that carry through with challenge performance. People were just not as likely to start fundraisers or get donations. But thankfully, things did, bounce back after that, and um, everything's been great since.
Okay, so hot tip then, what I'm getting from Eric is that if you want to know why your fundraising is down or up, look at the S&P 500. Okay, that's a tip.
Explains everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Or at
clearly,
least a part of it. At least a part of it. Yeah.
I mean, if you're telling me that it just matches up, that is wild. Okay,
Yeah.
super interesting. That's actually my favorite fact of today. Okay, but let's bring it back to the present. We talked about COVID. We talked about 23 to 2024. Let's talk about now. So I would imagine that it's not a surprise that a lot of folks in the room, but even a lot of nonprofit leaders across the nation are feeling really risk averse right now. Okay. Given that political environment you had talked about before, with funding being reduced on a federal level and so much uncertainty in the air, uh, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that are really hesitant to try new strategies. And I would love you to give some insight into what's happening and what you're seeing in 2025.
Yeah, and that like approach is completely understandable. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, funding being pulled. It's kind of a scary place right now for sure, for a lot of nonprofits. But I would say like the biggest silver lining to everything, and gives me faith in humanity a bit, is just seeing that people are stepping up. Individual people are stepping up to support nonprofits now more than they have the past 2, maybe 3 years. And we see it all with the data coming in from our challenges. And so, yeah, I think like a big takeaway here is just that like when institutions are taking a step back, individuals are stepping up. And that's really cool to see.
Okay, so with the shift that you're talking about, what should our leaders here in the room be doing differently this year?
I would say, I mean, challenges on Facebook are a great program to invest in right now. They're an awesome way to get your brand in front of new people. 90% of leads driven from challenges are new to organizations. But also just like don't let the fear hold you back from trying new things right now. Yes, it's like it's a scary time, but everything is aligning where it's the market is good, so people are more willing to give now. They're more willing to ask for money now. Um, and then on top of that, the political factors are somewhat in your favor from an individual giving perspective, fundraising, donating, etc. People want to step up. So I would say like try to um, see through like the fear and try to get your brand out there and make the ask, because I think people are more willing to step up now.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I imagine that it's still tough. I think given everything, right? Given that it's still uncertain, that must be a tough leap for many organizations to make. And I'm curious if you have a story to tell of when a nonprofit might have walked through and stepped through that fear.
Yeah, really good example was actually this year in February. So it was right when the administration kind of changed over. But one of our newer partners, they'd been trying different fundraising tactics for a while and they weren't seeing success. And so I think challenges were kind of a last ditch effort. We didn't have very much budget for the challenge or anything. It was a bit of a shot in the dark, but they ended up putting a lot of extra ad budget in and they reached 500% return on ad spend with that first challenge. They went on to do a second one that also was 500% return on ad spend, and they were just absolutely blown away. And so, thankful. And one of our CSMs met with them and kind of asked them like, "Hey, what's your other strategies for 2025?" And they looked at him and they said, "You are our strategy. Like, you're it." And
That
that was cool to see, and that's why we're here. Like, we are here to help nonprofits succeed. Um, and I would say that's another thing is like everyone on our team has been with the company for a long time, and we have eyeballs on all metrics going on, and we're not going to do you wrong. Like, we're going to keep you in the loop. We're going to try our very best to find you success. And like, we've got your back. That's what we're here for.
I love it. Eric's got your back, y'all. I'm from Texas, so I use y'all. Uh, that is such a inspirational story. And I genuinely believe, here's the thing. I think there's always moments of uncertainty. We live in a country that is constantly, I think, bouncing around. Things are constantly changing. And I believe, right? This is my own personal opinion, but I'm sure people have varying different perspectives on this. But that in moments of uncertainty, I genuinely believe that, people who are positioning themselves in the right way with the right strategy and with the right support, that they can really set themselves up in a competitive way, right? Against, I think, what all is going on. You can really have
Yeah.
an advantage if you're very strategic about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. If
So,
you're there's
yeah.
a lot of people who are sitting on their hands right now, just
Mhm.
waiting to see how things shake out, but the ones finding success are the ones who are stepping up. And it kind of makes sense too because there's less competition in the space when more people are kind of waiting, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is such great advice though. Like when you really think about it, if you have all of your strategy and structure set up when everyone's just sitting and waiting to
Hmm.
see what happens, you're ready to roll, right?
Yeah,
And you're taking action
absolutely.
right now and learning and making all those mistakes right now and then perfecting it when the time comes to ramp it up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's bring it home. If someone's listening today and they're on the fence, why Facebook challenges and why now?
So I would say I'm going to reference my LinkedIn post that I wrote a couple of weeks ago about this, but overall the timing is right. This is the right time to do a challenge if you were ever to try one. Um, our strategy, I have like a formula for this, right? Like 60% of the success that we're seeing is our strategy that we've spent 4 years and all this time to perfect and all the full funnel analysis, all that stuff. Um, that's 60%. 20%, I would say, is market factors. So we can't really control that, obviously, but it seems like things are fairly steady right now and um, could be for some time, hopefully. Um, but definitely right now it's good. And then political factors. So as as funds get pulled, as support is withdrawn, as things kind of get worse out there from a administration standpoint, the people are stepping up to support, and
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing here. So um, yeah,
Yeah. And then how does GU Good United help with all this?
so I mean, we handle everything as far as the challenge process goes. So our 60% strategy, like we have it dialed in so incredibly well. We work with your team to figure out the best messaging that we know is going to drive performance, but also fit with your brand. We analyze, the full funnel as these challenges are progressing and campaigns are progressing,
Mhm.
um, and we make it easy, right? And the data really backs up that the timing is right now. It's been very consistent all year long. We've seen on average over 300% return on ad spend. So there's some, a little bit lower, some a little bit higher, but
Mhm.
um, for every month of the year except for May, which had the April tariff stuff going on, right?
Wire. Yeah.
So really, like this is the most consistent performance has ever been. Um, and yeah, the good thing about working with Good United is you don't have to build things from scratch. Um, that's what we're here for. We bring all the years of experience, we bring the tech expertise, um, and then we have the added value of bringing people into Messenger as kind of the outcome of these challenges and helping your nonprofit develop those relationships kind of in platform and in channel for future challenges or future activations, whatever you want. But that's kind of like why the timing is right for challenges, and we would love to help you accomplish that.
Yeah, I think what I think we were talking about, I think right before we started this call was that y'all really went through all that trial and error. Like you've made all the mistakes over the past
Oh
number
yeah,
of years, and you learn from them, right? And I think anytime someone's starting a new strategy, there are just things that you have to figure out, right? Things that really slow you down. And what I'm hearing here is Good United did all that for you. They went through all that struggle. They spent that money and then figure out where it works and where it doesn't work. And what I'm seeing is that, yes, do it yourself, figure it out. You can do it. We believe in you. Uh, but at the same time, is that if you're looking for that express pass, that fast pass at Disney World, this is a really good option, right? Connecting with Good United and really leaning into, one is incorporating the right strategy for you and
Yep.
your specific organization. But then secondly, it's about, just having a partner to do it with who has that expertise. Is that what I'm sensing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can figure it out yourself, and that's great. We provide resources for you to do that, or you can partner with us, and we spent all these years dialing it in. And really, I want to go back to like 2023, 2024, when things were hard. We were not just sitting there, watching performance fall off and doing nothing. We were digging in so deep into the process and the messaging and the targeting of ads and all this stuff, and just figuring out what actually works and kind of getting rid of what is supposed to work but doesn't really work. Just get rid of it. Let's focus on what actually works, invest in that, perfect that, and make it possible for more nonprofits.
I love that. So again, folks, we'll hang back a little bit for questions. I see a couple of folks messaging us. We'll make sure we're getting to you. But before we do that, Eric, I want to know, as we close out our webinar for today, do you have any final words for our audience members?
I would say the one thing I want people to take away, because I see this data from our performance, and it gave me a lot of faith in humanity, is just that people are actually stepping up right now. Like, individual people are stepping up, institutions stepping away, and I know there's a lot of fear, but I think social fundraising and challenges on Facebook in general are kind of the move right now to get in front of people and to share your brand, share your story, and ask them for support, because all these factors at play tell me that now is really the time to be doing it. And it may seem scary, but I think you have to try.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. To everyone who joined us today, if you've been feeling a little bit unsure and you've just kind of been sitting back and just waiting to see what happens, if you're really looking for an intentional perspective, right, on your fundraising strategy, now's a great time to book a strategy session with us. I'm going to place the link in our chat, and I'm also going to share my screen real quick, actually. Let's take a look. So this is, oh, you should be seeing it. This is our first one. Here's our beautiful photos again. And this is the screen right here. We do encourage you that if you're even, I think, just looking, I think, for another person to riff with when it comes to your strategy, connect with us. We're happy to help. That is through that link right here. And then it's also in the chat that I just sent. And then the QR code, if you're looking for that playbook on Facebook challenges, that is a really great resource as well. And we encourage you to download it. So with that said, what I'll do at this time, I'll actually stop sharing my screen. I'll give you about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully you were able to, just take a photo of that real quick. But if not, I did send it in the chat. All right, so with that said, we're going to close out the formal portion of our webinar. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. If you want to bounce out, feel free to bounce out. Otherwise, what we're going to do now is we're going to answer some questions that we saw in the chat. So let me take a look. I'm going to scroll back up. Okay. So Patricia asked, where do we find the previous webinar that was mentioned? I think maybe we could figure out a way to send it to her. I will make a note. Patricia, we will make sure that we're sending it to you. I believe we should have your email from this webinar. So that should be good. Let's see. All right. Why are challenges better than other strategies? Are there any data points behind this?
Oh my gosh, so many. Challenges are the strategy where there's nothing else compares to it. And I believe me, I've tried a lot of other strategies. I've tried to replicate what other nonprofits are doing and kind of rebuilding what they're doing. But challenges, not only do you make money doing them, like the return on ad spend for them is significantly higher than anything else. meta ad related. Like the meta ad benchmark for ROAS, return on ad spend, is 50%. And challenges this year for us, it's like 300%. And even at their worst, it's like 150 to 200%. So you're almost always making your money back, and then some. But then on top of that, you're getting new supporters. So, like I said at the top, 90% of leads generated for challenges are new to the organization's house file. We've run that test of comparing these lead gen lists with nonprofit house files, and it's 90%. Like that's awesome. Um, but then on top of that, it's like the reach of it all as well. So mass marketing on social media, you're reaching potentially hundreds of thousands to millions of new eyeballs with your brand and your mission. Um, you're getting people to sign up to fundraise, and then because it's social fundraising, you're getting their networks to learn about the mission too and donate to their fundraiser. So it's a lot of value in one thing. And for a long time, we only really focused on the revenue being driven, but there's so much more value than just the immediate revenue. So much more value. Leads, subscribers in Messenger. Um, there's even the effect on the algorithm where when we run challenges on Facebook, organizations see a lift to birthday fundraising because Facebook sees that, oh, all these people are supporting this organization. There must be something going on right now. And so they'll prioritize that organization in the birthday fundraising prompt, as well. So there's so much value. I could go on, as you can see.
Oh my gosh, I love how excited you are actually. Okay, here we go. We have 500% return on ad spend. Sounds great. Speculating it was a small dollar amount. Is there a minimum amount you suggest?
So for that scenario, we started off at, I think, 10,000, which is like our absolute lowest that we would recommend, for a challenge. And we ended up increasing it to 40,000. And that, I think when it was at 10,000, the return on ad spend was like 1,000%. And then we ended up increasing the budget from 10 to $40,000 and ended up at 500%, which is not too shabby. Yeah. And then their second challenge that I mentioned, we actually started at 40,000 budget, and it also ended at 500%, like exactly. So that's that situation. But yeah, I would say 10K is really the minimum that we would recommend for a challenge. Um, anything less than that, and it never really picks up momentum. You need to get a lot of people in the door and then raising money, and then there's a whole social aspect to it that encourages others to get involved too.
Yeah. And the person who submitted it, feel free to connect in, book that strategy session if you want specific insights into your specific organization, because I do think Eric's giving broad advice right now. All
Broad,
right.
yeah.
So with the decline in Facebook popularity, any concern on your end? Any roadmap work around for other social avenues?
Yeah, so I know there's this talk of Facebook declining in popularity. I would say that still where most of the money is in Facebook, but just because of the demographic of using it. Actually, and I also know Facebook has been updating their platform to try to bring it back to what it was back when it was really popular. So I don't know if you noticed, but they added like the friends tab back in. So I think that was the biggest complaint with people on Facebook was, oh, it's only like Facebook Marketplace and ads. That's all I see on there. And so I know Facebook is trying to fix that. So I think Facebook is here for a while longer. I'm not sure how much longer, but we are actively testing into Instagram, for challenges, and on the future state is TikTok as well. So we're doing that. We're doing that research now. We're running test campaigns, and um, early results are promising. There's still more to be dialed in, just because Facebook has that built-in like fundraising capability, and like it's built into it's built into the platform. While Instagram does not really have that, it's just not as good for peer-to-peer fundraising. So that's really the missing step here, and where I think everyone in the space is trying to find the best workaround for it.
Yeah. And I will just add, because I am actually still an active Facebook user. If you go into, so I think there's Facebook Marketplace, and yes, I think there's the feeds of pages you follow. Facebook groups, extremely vibrant, huge communities. There are still a lot of people going to Facebook, right? Like me included. I go every day. So and it clearly I just is just one anecdotal like story.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of people like me, that are showing up every single day to check my groups and connect with others. So
yeah.
all right, we have another question. So we asked about the minimum, but is there a max you would recommend for spending?
Like in the heyday of challenges, we did one campaign that was $2 million in a month of spend, which was wild. I would not recommend that. um, the highest we go these days, and this is unique situations, but 200,000 is like the highest that we really go lately. Um, the trade-off is definitely just return on ad spend. And there's something that happens when you have like a lower to mid-range spend, let's say between, ten to $30,000, where when you're running the ads, you kind of roll through the tiers of supporters, we call them. So your top tier supporters are going to be the cheapest to acquire and fundraise the best. Then you're going to kind of work through the different kind of relationships to your cause. So if you're like a diabetes focused org, you might attract people with diabetes or moms or dads of people with type 1 diabetes first. And then as time progresses, you'll start to attract people that are like other connection to type 1 diabetes, whatever that is. Um, and we actually see that in our data too. We do ask these questions in the lead form for challenges, so we can actually literally see this data of you go through the tiers of supporters. And so as you spend more money, you get more kind of tertiary connections to your cause, which just don't raise as much money. Um, or yeah, I mean that's basically the answer to that question. If you have like a really widespread mission where a lot of people are impacted by it, you can spend more money because more people know about the issue, more people are impacted by it. If it's a super rare disease that's very deadly, um, you might have a smaller audience, but they might fundraise phenomenally for you. And so for those, we suggest kind of a smaller to mid-budget situation. So it's very interesting. Everyone is different. The size of the org, the mission, um, your branding, it all plays a role in performance.
Yeah, so the quick answer is it depends. And
Yeah,
and and I did send in the links again in the chat just for y'all's reference, but I know some folks asked about that deep dive into Facebook challenges. If you go into the link I shared about previous webinars, you'll check out the one that we did with Maddie. That's that whole strategy, and then there's the playbook at the very end of that. And then we also reshared the fundraising event conversion playbook. So that'll help you, I think, navigate our conversation today. And then also book that strategy session. Okay. I will end actually there because I think what Eric alluded to is that it does depend on so many factors, right? Like I think there's some general advice that we can give today, but really, I think the most valuable insight that you'll have will be that one-on-one time that you have with some of our leaders. And when you book that strategy session, you'll actually be connecting with our CEO directly, Nick Black, who manages a nonprofit organization himself and has like been through it and knows how to navigate it and knows how to navigate some of these uncertainties we were talking about today. So with that said, I want to give you all back your time. Actually, I took an extra 10 minutes of your time, but a lot of you hung back, which is awesome. So I hope that y'all acquired a lot of insight from today's session. If there's anything that y'all need, feel free to reach out to us. All that information is right here in the chat. We bid you adieu, and we look forward to seeing you for the next one. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. See you. Of course. Thank you. Thank you. Love always seeing when people are like, thanks, thanks, thanks.
I
So
know.
great. Bye, everybody.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
See you
Thanks.
later. Bye. I'll end it here. All right. Have a great one, everybody. See ya.